All right, Steven Zarita here with the very last tutorial of the very Hyperdrive holiday series. And I know that there's a lot of Power Rangers fans in the audience right now. I see you guys subscribing. I see a lot of Power Ranger fans, and I know you guys are going to like this effect. If you can't tell already by me warping from way back there to right here, it's the teleporting effect from Power Rangers. I remember back on the playground as a kid, This is why I always wear a watch. This is probably why my next watch is going to be that Samsung watch phone. I would always just hold a button and pretend I was teleporting and just run around like a madman. But hopefully you guys did the same thing because I'm going to show you how to do it for real.
Okay, let's teleport you Power Ranger style now in After Effects. So I'm in After Effects. I'm using the clip from last week's preview of this effect, and here's what you're going to do. You need to start off by having two different clips, one of you in the shot, and then one of you not in the shot. And of course, it's important to film this on a tripod so that way the background does not change. Then what you're going to do is layer your footage. So originally you should line it up one right after another, but then layer it 2 or 3 frames over. Two frames. Now, with your top layer being the layer where it's blank, this is your background plate. First, let's name that background plate BG plate, even though it's on top. We're going to hit T to toggle opacity, set it down to 0, turn it on, go forward 2 frames, and set it up to 100. Basically, there's only going to be one noticeable change, one noticeable frame of change, and that's going to be right in the middle where it's at 50%. Usually, back on the Power Rangers show, they did this with hard cuts, but a lot of the time you could tell it was a hard cut because things would jolt in the background. By adding a small crossfade like this, it helps hide that. You can hide it even more if you make this transition longer, maybe 5 frames. But I like to keep it at 2 or 3 frames so that way the entire effect is fast, because in the show they would teleport pretty fast. There we go. Okay, with that done, we're going to get started with the aura. So in the preview, I used red because red was my favorite Power Ranger color, but seeing as I'm wearing camouflage green here, we're going to make me teleport Green Ranger style. So we're going to go to Layer, New, Solid, go to Color, and then pick a green. I like around 120, that's a good green. And full saturation, okay. Now we're going to hit R to toggle rotation, rotate 90 degrees. I'm going to hit T for opacity, make this 50% so I can kind of line this up over my body. And I'm going to put that top right there, and then the rest of it extends down far past the frame, which is good. That's what we want because this is going to go flying up, and we want this to go past the frame on the bottom since my body goes past the frame on the bottom. So we're going to fit this back, turn the opacity back to 100, and then actually turn off the visibility. We're going to go to the pen tool and draw a simple shape. Then let's refine that by using the grid to try and make these lines line up. All right, let's drag that down and turn the entire layer back on to see if that's covering me up. And yes, it is. Perfect. So let's turn off the grid, zoom back in, and let's up-res this a little bit. Now we're going to start this right around here and then move it forward, 5 or 6 frames. You can eyeball it, whatever timing works best for your particular instance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Now we're going to put a keyframe right here by hitting M and then keyframing the mask path. Then we're going to go to the first frame, turn the visibility off, and what we're going to do is shape this to be kind of a rough outline of my body. So I'm going to hit G, or you can go to the pen tool right here, but the shortcut for that is G. In certain versions of After Effects, later on they do change it. And we're just going to add a couple extra points because I can already tell I'm going to need them. Then I'm going to hit V, or you can go to the arrow. And then just start dragging these points to be around my body. So over a couple of frames, This is going to start in the shape of my body and then expand to the shape we first made. Then we're going to open up mask path completely, set a keyframe at the end, or a second keyframe set, sorry. Mask feather, move forward, toggle it back on, and then just feather this mask out. 91 pixels is good. Then let's actually make an easy ease keyframe on the end. All right, so now we have this, which is getting close, but it's not quite right. Now, we're going to go to Layer, New, Solid. We're going to call this LumaMatte. Doesn't matter what color it is because we're going to immediately go to Effect, Noise, Fractal Noise. And let's mess with the contrast. And let's add a fast blur. Now let's leave that at 0 for now because first thing we're going to do is mess with the brightness. So let's keyframe it right there where everything is pitch black. Open up these keyframes right here. Right here, we're going to move the brightness up to where everything is white. Right there. Now let's go to where we started that first keyframe, hitting U, and let's alt bracket there so it starts. So complete darkness, complete whiteness. Now let's mess with the scale because these fractal patterns are too small. So let's go to transform, move the scale up to right around there. And then we're going to offset the rotation and the evolution with an expression. So alt-click rotation, time times 60. And the show is kind of hand-drawn and scribbled on there, so by offsetting the rotation, it's a little hard to keep track of the fractals growing because they rotate. And in addition to that, we're going to offset the evolution, time times 60. And I can already tell the rotation is not fast enough because I can actually see the rotation happening. What I'm going for is it gets brighter in each frame and the pattern looks to change completely each frame. So let's actually just make it time times 260. That's a little bit more drastic, so that works for us. Now going into green solid, we're going to go to track matte, LumaMatte. So what this does, it takes the brightness of the layer above it, and the closer to white it is, the more opaque it is. So we're going to scrub through, and we're going to see that the green kind of appears over me in a really cool fractal pattern, but it's a little choppy. But remember, we added that fast blur. So let's go to that fast blur, repeat the edge pixels, and just bring up the blurriness a little bit. There we go. So it appears over me. Now that that's done, this looks a little too smooth, so we're going to go in and roughen up the edges. So I'm going to search for the plugin Roughen Edges, and that's under Stylize. It does exactly what it sounds like. It roughens the edges, and I put it on the wrong layer here. So let's cut that and paste it back on a green solid one. And if I remove the mask, you can see it kind of takes little bites out of the edges there. I can bring that up a bit too. Not too much, but enough to make it change. Then likewise, we'll offset the evolution, time times 60, just to keep it from looking too clean, because originally I think this was a hand-drawn effect. All right, that's done. If you look closely, whenever they would use this though, they would also have lightning. So we're going to make some lightning. Going to go to Layer, New, Solid, calling it Lightning. Going to Effect, Generate, Advanced Lightning. We're going to solo it, so we just have to worry about the lightning for now. We're going to put the origin over here. and the direction over here. I'm going to turn the glow settings off. Go to the core. Turn it up all the way on the opacity, and let's make the core radius about 4. Now we're going to move 2 frames, 3 frames earlier. Keyframe the origin and direction. And we're going to go to 3 frames after our last keyframe. 1, 2, 3. And then move our origin and direction up to the top. Then we're going to alt-click on conductivity status, and we're going to say time times 12. So we have it just traveling up to the top. Then what we're going to do is duplicate it. Go to those keyframes, and then just change where the origin and direction are on each side of those keyframes. What we're essentially going to do is duplicate this a couple of times so we have lightning going all across the frame. In a bunch of different directions. So I'm going to make a couple more of those, and I'll be right back when I'm done. Alright, so that's the last one there, and like I said, I just made a couple, and they're just kind of crisscrossing at every part of the frame. And then moving all around. It's kind of randomized, but just make sure you kind of have 1 or 2 lightning bolts over your person at all times. And then the last one I'm going to make, I'm going to duplicate this. And the last one I'm going to make, I'm going to duplicate another layer. I'm going to remove the origin and direction keyframing, and let's solo this. I'm going to go to lightning type, make it anywhere. And just, you only get an origin point. I'm going to put it right in the center, right on top of me, and then just leave that there. And that was going to kind of act as a wild card and just go in every which direction, just to make sure you have a lot of lightning happening. Then we're going to pre-compose all of our lightning. Layer, pre-compose. We're going to call it lightning pre-comp. And we're going to take that, recompose it again. Lightning pre-comp, comp 1. Sure, why not? We're going inside. I'm going to make another fractal noise lumamat. So instead of going and making all that stuff one more time, we're actually just going to copy the one we made before. So let's copy this lumamat, go in here, put it on top of lightning pre-comp, paste it. So let's hit U to open up the keyframes. Let's move on in here. We're going to move each keyframe over 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And then let's move this forward. So that way that's visible. Let's go to the evolution, because if we look at it, the evolution is going to be about the same as the one in the comp before it, even though it's a little slower on the fractal noise brightness. Let's mess with the evolution a bit. So we're going to do time times 60 and then just add 17. So plus 17. That changes the evolution a little bit, so it's unique a little bit. Same thing with the rotation. Time times 260 minus 33. And let's actually up the speed that this rotates at. So let's make this 367. That's just a random number. So that's spinning around and getting brighter, darker, brighter. Let's turn this layer off, set the luma mat. And you're going to notice that our lightning starts hardly noticeable, then very noticeable, and stays on. But in the effect of the show, it then goes away. So let's move this towards the middle, copy this keyframe, and then paste it. So we have lightning that shows up, gets there, and then goes away as the effect will fly off later. Let's drag this out a bit, move this a couple frames forward, because the lightning needs to last a little bit longer. And then let's actually make this not as bright, because in the show, the lightning was never solid enough to where you'd see entire streaks of lightning. It would only be little choppy bits of lightning. So let's turn this back on, solo it, go to the effect controls, and then just change the brightness, lowering it a bit. So that way we kind of break off these solid white chunks a little bit more. Let's also go to the transform. Let's go to the scale. Let's mess with the scale. So hit the keyframe button, hit U twice, so we now have the scale up. Let's move to the middle here. Let's lower the scale. So that way we got smaller chunks. Move this over here, copy, go over here, paste it. So these little chunks grow big and then grow small again. So it almost becomes a solid bunch of lightning bolts, then shrinks. And let's shrink that down a bit too. Let's turn that off. See what that looks like. Turn off the visibility. It's close, looking a little bit too solid, so let's lower the brightness a little bit more. And let's mess with the scale. In this instance, actually, let's make the scale bigger. This might be bigger than when it actually started, but there's less chunks. They're bigger, but there's less of them. And that looks pretty good. Okay, let's collapse everything and let's make it glow. Layer, new, solid. I'm in a 1920 by 1080 comp. I'm going to make a background that's bigger than that. So let's call it BG lock aspect ratio, and let's make this 2100 pixels of width. We're going to put that at the very bottom. And let's make an adjustment layer. You've seen me do this glow a ton. I love the Ryan Weber glow method. It gets the best looking glows. Gaussian blur. And I set the transfer mode to screen there if you didn't see me do that. Let's put this back up to fit. Let's blur this out. We'll eyeball it. 5 pixels. Let's actually do 7. Duplicate. 14 pixels. If I was doing a lightsaber, the next one would be 21 pixels, but since this is lightning, I like to just double it every time. So the next one will be 28 pixels. That looks pretty good. Now let's go back into our tutorial. And let's colorize this green. Effect, color correction, color balance. Now in the show it was just white lightning and the lightning didn't even have a glow. So you could technically have just skipped those last couple of steps, but the way I do it, I like to colorize the lightning. And once they got into Zeo, when Jason the Gold Ranger would teleport out, his lightning would have a gold glow around it. So I like having the glow and it just kind of updates the look a little bit. So let's make this glow green. Midtone green balance 100. Highlight green balance 75 and preserve luminosity. Then set the mode to screen. That's over me, but it's all over the place as well. So let's go to green solid. Let's duplicate it and put it on top of the lightning and make an alpha matte. Now we're going to move this green solid around, so let's parent it to the original instance of it. And let's color code these. So these will be blue. And these will be, let's leave them red. Then let's move this forward. So what's happening is I press my watch. We get some lightning showing up on me. And we get the green showing up on me. And then the solid color. So once the green solid is completely solidified, we're going to hit P, and that's at this keyframe here. We're going to hit P, keyframe position, and move forward about 6 frames. 8 frames. And then move this up and out of the frame. And let's also toggle on motion blur, and then set this first keyframe to a easy ease keyframe. Turning on motion blur for the entire comp, and we see it flying out there pretty nicely. Now, I'm not completely happy with this lightning because it never really fully takes over, and that should be happening right around here. It should be all over my body. It's not, so let's go into the lightning. And then let's move this forward a couple more frames. 3 frames. And go to this point. We need the lightning to show up a bit more. So let's mess with the scale and mess with the brightness. Let's change the easy ease, the keyframe to an easy ease so it gets filled in quicker. And let's actually, the original brightness starts at complete dark. Let's bump that up a bit so we start with a little bit of lightning. Not that much. There. And that scale's pretty small. Let's bump that up a bit so we see a little bit more complete. It's all about eyeballing. Okay, so the lightning actually starts a little too soon. So let's go in and tweak it a little bit more. Move it in a couple keyframes, or a couple frames. The lead in is always shorter than a lead out for this effect. So let's see. Beep, lightning takes over. Green all over me, flying off. Then let's go to right here, turn on the motion blur. Let's add a little bit of turbulent displace on it because it still looks a little too nice. So effect, distort, turbulent displace. Let's change the size down. There we go. And then keyframe the evolution, time times 60. It's kind of my go-to.
It's a pretty cool effect, so if someone ever asks you about the teleporter, one, don't ask me about the teleporter. Okay, you can ask me about the teleporter. If you get that reference, thank you very much. It's from one of our videos. If not, go check it out. But yeah, now you can do the Power Rangers teleporting effect. And between you and me, because I know that there's a lot of Power Ranger fans right there, I think we might be doing a Power Ranger web series next year. No super solid promises, but I wrote out a couple of ideas, and I think we got some funny stuff. So if you liked the It's Not Morphin Time video, you're going to like what we come up with. So hopefully that's something you're interested in. And that's it. That's the entire Very Hyperdrive holiday tutorial web series. I'm not sure when we're definitely going to do another one next Christmas time, but maybe we'll do another one sometime in the year between now and then. So if you have any suggestions for tutorials that you want us to do, leave them in the comments below. If you liked this video or any of the tutorial videos we did this last month, please like the video, share it with your friends. For those of you who have been using these tutorials to make stuff, please send them our way. I love posting the stuff you guys are making on our Facebook and Twitter pages. It's really cool to see what you guys can come up with. So send those our way, and subscribe so you don't miss more funny Hyperdrive pictures, videos, which we'll be getting back to our normal swing of things next year for. And maybe some tutorials sprinkled here and there. And punch it.